So let's now move on to phase 2 of the analysis of fitness center data. You will recall that up until now you created this table and carried it through and did pivot analysis with it that resulted in some summaries. So there was pivot table analysis, and then you used that pivot table analysis to create some summaries of data. And that was the first project. But going back to this, we now want to go to a new level where we have to group these basically by what happens within a given hour. Because if I have two that come within a given hour, I need to lump those together, lump the 9 o'clocks together, lump the 10 o'clocks together, and then I can do averages on each hour. If I try to do it at this level, it just doesn't seem to work, especially when you're trying to do minimum and maximum, not just for one Tuesday at 8 a.m., but all Tuesdays at 8 a.m. during the time period. So then the pivot analysis which achieves this, let's take a look at it over here. The things that we do, we have to have something to count. And so our values then, if you look here, that's the count of check-in time. We could use any other thing that we're sure every item in the table has something for it, but check-in time is our basic information. So we know if we count those up that there's one for every row. And then in terms of what we're doing, we're not going to have any columns here. There's no column labels or titles here. All we're doing is counting up the check-in time. Now, as far as row labels, this is where you go, and it has to be in this order. So you want the date, and then within the date, the day of the week, and within the day of the week, the hour of the day. So that's what you see here. Here's the date, here's the day of the week, and then this is each of the hours of the day. And within this date, on this day, at 8 a.m., we have two that come through. We saw that in the raw data. If we counted up the 9 o'clocks, we have 4. And then on Wednesday, this September 2nd, if we scroll way down, we'll see that we continue to have for different days of the week. Here's a Wednesday and how many came in at each hour of the day. Thursday, 6 a.m. now. We have some people coming in at 6 a.m., some at 7 a.m. And so we're going to take these, now that we have them lumped by the hour, we can, and by day of the week, we can do something with this in terms of averages, minimums, and maximums. But we have a bit of work to do. So the first thing we have to do is we will copy this and we will paste it. And I'm calling this the in-between. And so here's the raw pivot table data. It should look familiar. Here's your date and your day, and then the hours. And here are the totals, the counts, if you will, for each of those, and so on all the way down. Now, to do a proper pivot on this, again, because that's what we're going to do is repivot this, we have to convert it into a full table. Now, how do we do that? Well, it takes these steps to do that. The first thing is we have to have a function which will check this column. You notice that we have 3 different values in here. We have the date, we have the day, and then we have the hour of the day. So in this column here, we only want date. And we notice that there's a number of rows here that are all for the same date. So we have to figure out some logic, and this explains it. And again, you have access to this file, so you can read this at your leisure. But the point is we simply come up with a recipe. And again, there's various ways of doing it. This is just one way to do it. But the logic is that it looks over into this column and it figures out if in fact we have a new date. Now why do I say a new date? Well, because we have to think of copying this same formula all the way down. And the formula has to know when to grab a new value and when not to. You see, it has to keep the same value all the way through these because these are all on September 1st. Then it has to change when it gets to September 2nd, and then it'll have to change for September 3rd. So the logic is simple here, that and you can go into you'll have to think it through for yourself. But basically this value, remember this is like 42,000 something, whatever. So, and this is like, what, 2? And then of course this is 8 through 17. So this is a huge value compared to anything else that shows up in here. So that's what we're using as our clue. When we say if A4 is greater than 40, we're basically saying, you know what, if it's greater than what it would be as a day or as an hour, which I guess we could even just make this greater than 24, right? Because 24 would be the largest value we would get in A4 except for a date. And then, so if it is larger, then we know it's a new day. So let's, new date, so we'll take that value. But what if we don't? Well, that's when you take the value that's already in the column, because that's what will happen all the way down here. See, if I go on this one, for example, this is where the second part kicks into effect. It sees that 12 is less than 40, not greater, so it skips over the true and it goes to the false, and it grabs the one above it, which means it's continuing with the same date. All right, so then day of the week, we don't worry about this, and I'll explain later, because really we only are going to keep the ones that have values for check-in time. These are throwaway areas. Well, actually, here's the throwaway part here. We're going to keep the parts of the table that have something for every row, including the number of entrants coming in at that time. So this formula then, again, checks, but this time now it's checking the one above it. So is the one above it greater than 40? Why do we do that? Well, because in the case of this one, okay, right here, the one above it is the date. And of course, we know the day of the week always follows the date. So if the one below the, if the one above the row I'm in is a big number, that tells me I'm dealing with the day of the week. So then it grabs the day of the week. On the other hand, if not, then let's see here. It grabs the day of the week. If, on the other hand, A5 itself is greater than 40, then don't say anything and just get E4. This is probably a little bit more complicated than it needs to be, but it's, like I said, checking to see if it's the right date and getting it. Again, the same as here. If it's not a new day of the week, we just want to keep copying the day of the week. So this is going to take E6, the one just above it. This is going to take E7, the one just above it. And this is just one way that you can do this, where it says, is it a new day of the week? If so, then put it. Now down here, the extra logic in here allows me to put a blank if I'm at a new date. And we'll see afterwards that's helpful to have a whole blank across here. Notice this one here. This is the new day of the week because it's September 2nd just above it. So with that in mind, this is able to switch. Like I said, there are various ways of doing this if logic, but it has to work so that when you copy the formula all the way down, in every cell it does the right thing. It knows either to take the new day of the week or not. Now, we could convert these, format these to say Tuesday again. I'm not going to bother with that here. I will fix that when I get into my tables. Hour of the day, this is different logic now. And again, it explains it. But basically now, all I have to do is check and see if this is blank. If this is blank, I know to not take it because it's either a date or a day of the week. But every other cell going down, if there's something here, that means I have an hour of the day here. And if I have an hour of the day here, I want to bring it over because this is the column for hours. So here we have, it ignores, or it takes the day of the week and then, oh, no, don't bring anything over because this is date. Don't bring anything over because this is day of the week. Oh, okay, here again. Now I have something in this column which tells me I have an hour of the day in this column. So this is just logic, looking at the situation and reasoning it through to provide a formula that copied down will consistently behave the right way, get the value if it needs it, or not go get the value if it doesn't. And this is very similar. This is actually the simplest because it's if this is blank, I don't want it. If it's not blank, I want it. And I copy that down. So these are all formulas which go and get values that build a table. But it's not a perfect table, is it? It's got these blank areas in here because of all the conversions. So we need to clean it up. Before we can clean it up, we have to get rid of the formulas. And you know how to do that. So just to make sure that you know how to do it, let me demonstrate the way that we do replace this. Why don't we take all of this? I'm going to just page down. And let's delete all of this and redo it. I'm just using shift and page down, page up. So let's just delete all of that and walk through the process. These formulas, you just type them in as you learn how to do them. There's no technique involved in that other than the normal editing of a formula. But over here then, let's take and copy all of this. I think if we do shift and arrow down, yes, it goes just before the grand total. That's what we want. So let's copy that. And then over here, let's go ahead and we use paste values. You can go ahead and keep any formatting. So that's values and source formatting. And we click paste. So now notice, instead of it having a formula in here, it actually has the date. Now it's carrying the comments over explaining the functions. We need to get rid of those comments. So we go down, right click, choose delete comment. Same thing here, right click, choose delete comment. I wonder if I can do two at once. Let's try that. Right click on the two of them. There you go. I can even do two at once. So now I have just the values, but I have excess stuff, excess rows, because I had to do every row over here, but not every row has all the contents. This is the first row here that has everything in it. So these are garbage rows. These are excess that we don't need. So I'm not going to replace this because I want you to be able to see it when you open the file. But let's, I'm going to take a copy then of this, and this will be a little bit harder because now there are blanks, I believe. Oh, no, my end, shift end arrow down still worked. Copy. And now I just do a regular paste. And now it's still all selected. It's all still highlighted. While it's still highlighted, so it saves me having to highlight everything, I'm going to do a custom sort. Now why do I do that? Well, by doing a custom sort on hour, see how there's these blank values here? And I'm going to do largest to smallest so that I get the blanks all lumped together. Click OK. And so now you see a bunch of the garbage. All of these garbage rows are all collected here. So let's highlight the garbage. We have to go down till now you see this is where the blanks end and we start. The next row starts all good stuff. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to choose delete, and I'm going to shift cells up so that as I get rid of the junk, the good stuff, the good rows all move up into that area. So there we have it. Now we have the information sorted on the hour. First of all, on the hour to clean it up. But we're going to want to repaste it, and well, we could have done it here, but again, I'm trying to take you through the stages so you see each stage. So what I want to do now, let's highlight the good stuff here and down. You see, this is all solid, and I'm going to click copy. So I'll come here now and I will paste. And so now if we were to scroll down, you would see that this is a complete duplicate of this. But now what we do with this is we go and we custom sort back on, we need to do a better job of selecting here. So let's do that. Shift and arrow down. So there you go. You see it's an identical copy of this for now. Click custom sort, and now it should give us headings. Yes, it does. So we're going to sort by date, and we're going to do oldest to newest. But then there's going to be more than one hour of the day. So we need to add a level, and after sorting on date, day of the week will follow date, so we don't need to worry about that. But hour of the day, we want the smallest to the largest. This sort now will give us the original back over here, but now we have a nice clean table that we can operate into a pivot table.